What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler, a true banger, yet another classic story video. Hey, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also make sure to go subscribe to Pine Park and check out the Gobcast, my new podcast that I'm hosting, because we have a serious episode coming up. I am interviewing the man that the movie War Dogs is based on, a man who has finessed the United States government out of over $300 million by selling them repackaged Chinese ammo and got convicted of conspiracy to defraud the United States. I am going to sit down and ask that man a whole lot of questions. So, if you want to hear that interview and that sounds interesting, go check it out. The Pine Park channel will be linked in the comment section. Go subscribe. Keep an eye out for that post. I'm actually filming the interview today. It's probably already done by the time you see this, but I'm very excited. War Dogs is one of my favorite movies. All right, no more time being wasted. Let's dive right into it. Now, in today's video, we're going to tell the story of how I developed an immunity to Molly. Now, some of you might be wondering, Goblin, what the hell are you talking about, immunity to Molly? There was a period towards the very end of my drug addiction, and granted, hey, I still take my shrooms and smoke my weed. If you want to call me an addict, still suck my balls, all right? At the end of my drug addiction back in 2021, late 2021, I'd say for the last 3 to 6 months of it, I was just physically unable to roll. I took Molly countless times, and I was just not able to do it. And today, we're going to talk about why that is, and the story of how I found out that I was immune to Molly. So, buckle up, hey, drop a like, hey, subscribe, hey, buy some Only Gas, and without further ado, let's get to it. So, this particular day happened in the summer of 2021, and it was shortly after Cody, my old roommate and my homie, moved in with me. Now, we were getting lit at this point. He had just moved in. We had to celebrate, so we were having homies from up north drive down and visit us damn near every single weekend. We were raging. It was a very, very fun time the first couple months in this house. And at this point, I was also still using the deep web, although it was much more sketchy than it was back when I was in high school. In 2021, there had already been a bunch of site busts. Alphabay, Hansa, all these sites went down. So at this point, I was a little more careful. I was paranoid. Stacked on top of that, I was also a raging coke addict. So you could imagine how paranoid I was every time I ordered on the deep web. But nevertheless, I still did it. Bro, listen, I was ordering carts. They were probably FUBU. Not probably. They just were, okay? I was ordering blow. I was ordering Molly. But this particular shipment that this story is about is the Molly, okay? I ordered some Molly a vendor who I'd been ordering from a minute, right? Or for a minute, pardon me. This guy, I trusted it. You know, I tested his stuff before. I knew it was real. It came back, you know, looking good on the test. So I didn't have any concerns buying from him again. Pack always landed, good to go. So I grabbed, I don't remember how much, it was probably a couple grams. You know, I never grabbed very much Molly. Molly was something that I didn't buy in bulk because I didn't really do a ton of it. Instead of just taking Molly and rolling, what I would actually do a lot of the time is just crush it up alongside my Coke, and I would do Coke and Molly lines all the time. Now, some of you might be wondering what that feels like, and I'm going to tell you right now, it feels like pretty much nothing, okay? When you first start doing Coke and Molly lines, yeah, it probably is going to be lit. You're going to roll at the same time as being geeked. It's a very fun feeling, but as I continued to do that, it became a habit where almost every other time I'd chop myself up a line, I was adding Molly into it. And I was adding an amount of Molly that as my tolerance grew, I wouldn't even feel. I was doing it more for the placebo effect after a little while. I think the little tingling and the drip from the Molly in my nose combined with the Coke and that god-awful chemical combination just did something to my brain where it felt right. Despite the fact that I wasn't rolling, I would keep doing these blow and Molly lines. But when Cody moved in and we were having some homies over, I ordered some Molly on the deep web and it came through, and I hadn't really tried to just straight up roll in a minute. I'd had a couple failures leading up to this fateful day, but granted, I only took a pointer, so I figured like, okay, my tolerance is just up. Tonight, I'm gonna take some more, like we're locked in. Package came, grabbed it out of the mail, and listen, whenever I'd grab my shit out of the mail, it was like a Splinter Cell mission, okay? I didn't really live in a neighborhood. I lived just right off a main road. Like, there was traffic outside of my crib at most hours of the day, and I would just walk outside and be greeted by it. It was not a very private situation, and because of that, combined with my coke-induced paranoia, I'd walk outside every day like I was Sam Bankman-Fried and the mail delivery guy worked for the SEC. It was rough, okay? So I'd do my little Splinter Cell mission, hit in the mailbox, grab my mail, go back inside, rip it open. Lo and behold, my Molly's in there all good. For the sake of the story, we're going to say I bought 2 grams, because honestly, I don't remember how much it was, but that's around the amount that I would normally grab. So we're just going to say 2 grams. So I busted open, Molly's looking good, looking like money, and at this point, I was a little more responsible. I was still testing the drugs I had that were coming in. Granted, I only started doing that in maybe the last 9 months to a year of my addiction, but hey, at least we were playing safe at some point. So I bust out the test kit, I drop a little bit of Molly in the little marquee test vial, and listen, I learned the hard way that marquee tests are actually very acidic and your skin cannot touch them. I learned this because one day I was testing a little bit of ketamine and I dripped a little bit of the dropper on my pants on accident and it burned all the way through my pants and my boxers and my skin. So I learned, be very careful with the marquee test. It's acidic. It's not very safe. So I very carefully, I put my Molly in there. I tested a little bit and I had these little vials. You don't just drop it in the whole thing. I guess I should have worded this better because it kind of sounds like I dropped it in the whole thing, which no, that would ruin the whole test, But it came with these little tester vials, right? So I drop my little bit in there, drop a little squeeze of the liquid in the tester vial, bang, comes back as Molly. I did it as a precaution, even though realistically I tested stuff from the same vendor numerous times and it was good, but it's good to test every single time. You never know when the plug's going to switch it up. So the test comes back all good and we are locked in. I had the mail and the homies were coming through the following day. Everything worked out perfectly. The timing of everything was just meant to be. So I just put the Molly away for that night, went about the rest of my day, went to bed. Woke up the next day, the homies came through bright and early. Normally, they're coming through at like 8, 9 p.m. because I live kind of far away. No. These motherfuckers heard I got the Molly in. They said, my man, weekday Molly unemployment sesh, we're linking the fuck up. They pulled up at like 11 a.m., bro. I'm talking I jumped out of bed. Gang's already in the driveway, okay? Shit's getting hectic quick. I didn't even have a chance to freshen up before I had to greet the gang. So I say what's up to everyone that came through. We had Nate come through. We had the other dude who came through was someone who isn't really in many of my stories, like a friend of a friend kind of thing. We're gonna call him Charlie. All right, so Nate and Charlie fucking came through. It's me and Cody in this bitch. We're vibing. Everyone's vibing. I'm like, listen, boys, we're getting started bright and early today. Like, this is how we're gonna do things. And they came down. They were already prepared. They said, all right, like, what do you got, And they brought their own goodies, too. They brought some blow. They brought a bunch of weed. They brought a couple bottles. We were absolutely locked in. So I was thinking, like, yo, this is going to be awesome. Like, I haven't actually rolled balls in a minute. And, like, we got enough Molly for all of us. We got the weed. We're at the crib. Like, this is going to be perfect, right? So I go freshen up, do my thing. Get back downstairs, get to it, and I bring the Molly downstairs with me. Now listen, we bust this shit open, and it was looking good. The Molly I got from this vendor was always like an amber, almost like a dark, like a dirty blonde, I wouldn't really say gold is the correct color, but it was a dirty blonde, and it was very, very pretty. It was just, you could sit there and admire it for a moment. It was gorgeous, right? It looked like a gemstone nearly. So I bust this shit out, and I am hype. I am absolutely hype. I'm like, yo, how much are we each taking? Like, what are we going with? And we decide we're going balls to the wall. We're taking 0.2s at this point. So I'm like, yo, wonderful. I haven't taken a 0.2 straight up in a minute. Like, I've done a couple little pointers, didn't really do much, but like, surely I'm rolling today. Like, this is it. I was really excited about it. Now, we didn't have any capsules at this point, but luckily, I was a seasoned Molly veteran, so just leaving that shit on the tongue for it to melt and swallowing the rock was absolutely no issue, okay? That's exactly how we all popped it. Just eat the rock, buddy. Let it happen. Now, listen, A true test of men is how long can you leave it in your mouth, okay? If you let it melt all the way down, if you're like grinding it against your gums and shit with your tongue, listen, you're a real Molly animal, okay? If you swallow the rock, which, listen, I got about halfway through and then I couldn't take it. I had to swallow it. I was like halfway to Molly animal status, okay? So, I get mine down the hatch. Everyone else gets theirs down the hatch. And mind you, these are scaled out .2s. These aren't just like, oh, yeah, well, that looks like a .2. Like, no, we scaled these out. We weren't playing at this point. So I pop mine and I'm like, all right, boys, like, let's get fucking lit. You know, I'm ready to go. I busted out my blow now, which was my signature at this point. There was absolutely no evening going by where we weren't all geeking if you're coming to my crib. So I bust out my blow, I start chopping up for everybody, and we're fucking locked in. Nate busted out his bag of blow, he starts chopping up, we're just matching, it's just a grand old time. And I start getting fairly geeked, and I'm like, alright, you know, surely I'm a roll, like surely I gotta fucking roll. And I only did a couple lines, you know, it's not like I was geeking out of my mind or, you know, really going skiing here. Like, no, I hit a very light slope, a beginner slope, if you will. So I'm chilling out, just kind of vibing, waiting for the Molly to hit me. A little bit of time goes by, maybe 30, 40 minutes, and I notice that, like, the homies are starting to act a little different, you know? The TV's on, they're bumping music off YouTube, random music videos, you know? Everyone's vibing, the mood is positive, the room is louder. That's like the signature way to tell when the Molly is hit. It's like how much louder has the room gotten, okay? If you got music bumping and you're all shouting and laughing, like, yeah, you're probably rolling, you know? Me, on the other hand, I was not in that zone at all. And I'm looking around at the homies and I'm like, bro, like, what the like, these guys are rolling already. I'm like, man, surely I got to have a high tolerance. It's going to hit me a little later. You know, I'm a bigger dude. Take me a little longer to process it. Like, no problem, whatever. I'm going to be patient. So a little more time goes by. Everyone is clearly rolling at this point. Motherfuckers are sweating. I remember Nate telling me he's got his jaw fucking locked. He couldn't unlock that shit. It was like it was super glued, dude. You could just see him absolutely mogging, just like Chad mode. His you know, jawline just violently defined by the clench, okay? All my homies are sitting in my living room molly-maxing, and I'm sitting here pretty much sober, at least comparatively, so I'm blown at this point. Enough time had passed where surely I was supposed to roll by now, and I said, at that point I just asked, I'm like, yo, like, are you guys fucking rolling balls right now? And they're all of them, every single one of them. I'm talking Nate, I'm talking Charlie, I'm talking Cody. They're all like, yeah, like, this shit's fire, bro, like, fuck yeah, this shit's really good, you know? And granted also, this wasn't the first time they had tried the Molly from this vendor, you know? They had come down to visit me before, even before Cody had moved in, and I was still grabbing from this same guy. So it's not like, you know, it was anything new, but like, dude, I just wasn't rolling. And I've been buying, like, my fair share of Molly. I wasn't, like I said earlier, I wasn't rolling every day, but I was combining it with my Coke lines almost every day. And I realized at that point that, like, damn, this probably isn't going to happen. So I took a little bit more. I took a very small amount. I took a 0.05, and I said, okay, if a quarter gram of Molly doesn't make me roll, it's just not for me. It's over with. That's where I drew the line, and it's because when I was in high school, my homie Kyle took a 0.4 while we were rolling together. I took a much smaller dose, but he took a 0.4, and I watched this guy have the worst experience of his life, twitching out, making no sense, drooling on himself, eyes rolling back in his head. He doesn't have a lazy eye, but he did while he was rolling, absolutely out of his mind, nearly soiling himself. So bad that we were sitting there debating on taking him to the hospital. And ever since then, I told myself that I would never go over like a 0.2, you know, like a 0.2 is my cutoff. If I need any more than that to roll, I can't do it. I don't want to end up like Kyle, all right? That didn't look fun. So everyone's rolling around me, and I'm like, fuck, man, like, I'm just not rolling. I guess I gotta get fucking drunk. Mind you, don't follow in my footsteps, okay? When you got Coke and Molly in the system, liquor is one of the last things you should be throwing in the mix. But I was like, fuck it, man. Like, I'm just not rolling. So at this point, we were about 2 hours into since I took the Molly. And I was feeling a little different. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I felt nothing from it. Like, yes, my mood was a bit elevated, but I didn't really feel that classic hot chocolate pumping through the veins, Molly up, you know, come up feeling that I would get when I would roll. And I realized, I'm like, damn, dude, my brain is dead. Like, my brain, I've depleted all the serotonin. There's nothing left, 0%, absolutely nothing. It's like in your Minecraft world when you go and cut down on the trees, but you never plant any of the saplings back. That's what I did to my brain, okay? I never replanted any of the saplings, so I ran out of trees to cut. So I just started getting wasted. I was like, fuck it, bro. Like, we're in the cut. I started getting slapped. Now, on this night, we had my favorite vodka. We had Grey Goose. Listen, we were no longer high schoolers. I didn't have to drink Svedka and Tito's, all right? I grew up. We're sipping Grey Goose in this hoe now, all right? We're kind of up. Listen, all right? I'm going to be honest, there's no excuse to drink bottom shelf vodka. There's no excuse to drink Svedka. Tito's isn't really bottom shelf. It's more like middle shelf. But like Svedka, like, no, not Kettle One. I don't know. There's a brand with a similar logo. Either way, the point is, there's no excuse to drink bottom shelf vodka. The Grey Goose is like not even $10 more than the next shelf down, all right? Just get the higher shelf, all right? Just do it, all right? Save yourself the hangover, okay? Save yourself the pain, okay? Just get the Grey Goose. So we had the Grey Goose. I'm slamming. I'm slamming aggressively. I'm slamming expeditiously, okay? I'm absolutely rampaging in this hoe, all right? I got fucking wasted. So drunk that I genuinely don't remember most of the rest of the night, okay? Now, you guys know me, and you guys know that that's a probably very rare occurrence for me. Usually, I remember when I get drunk. I don't get like blackout drunk, you know? I know my limits pretty well with the substances I take. But on this night, I think it was really just me taking out my frustration, taking out my anger from not being able to roll on that bottle. So the night was cool, you know, we got lit, did whatever, I got fucking wasted. This was like 3 years ago. Honestly, I don't remember a lot of what happened that night. I would imagine we just like got lit, vibed at the crib. I ended up slumping out, but like, I don't really remember what happened beyond me getting pissed and getting drunk, right? However, a little later in that week, I still had some Molly left, right? I was not completely out of Molly. We didn't do it all that night. I still had some left, and I was like, fuck it, man, you know? Let's see if I'm really immune. Like, let's just no other drugs. Let's just do this Molly shit. Because this night was fucking with my head. I was starting to think I had genuine brain damage from my drug use. I'm like, is this it? Like, all these years, it's finally catching up? Like, this is it? I can't roll? I'm out of serotonin? Like, fuck, man. And, like, yes, I probably genuinely did do some damage to my brain. Because after I got sober later in the year, it took me so long to feel like normal emotions again. I just felt numb. I felt like a bowl of oatmeal, and not like the cinnamon apple oatmeal, just oatmeal, just grains, moist grains in a bowl for like close to a year after I got sober. So yeah, that is what happened. I just cooked my brain. But a few days after this, right, I'd woke up and I still had some Molly left, and I was like, fuck, man, like I gotta figure out if I'm fully immune, like if I just can't roll anymore. So I took a 0.15. I remembered, I was like, all right, I'm not going to take a 0.2 because if I end up rolling, I'm going to be really blown that I'm rolling this hard at like the middle of the day with no homies over. So I'm going to just take like a 0.15 and see where it takes me. Fucking nowhere. Nowhere is where it took me, okay? Like, I felt a little something. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was bone sober because I wasn't. Like, I wasn't really getting tracers, but I was vibing a little harder. It was like an emotional impact, but I definitely was not rolling by definition. And at that point, I knew, I was like, damn, it's cooked. Molly's over. So I kind of slowed down on the Molly Coke lines from that point, but it was really fucking with my head because it was the first time where like, I felt like I really did something to my brain, like I rewired something. Things were different, and it was because of my drug use. And this was like one of the first instances of me really realizing that and being like, damn, bro, like, I fried my shit. I gotta change. Later in that year, I got sober, thank God, and I haven't really done Molly since, but nowadays, I don't know. I feel like I probably would roll if I took Molly now, but like, I'm telling you guys right now, dude, like, the natural emotional high and enjoyment you get after like being sober for a while and just sticking to the weed is like pretty equivalent to rolling. You know, I'm not trying to sound cheesy or exaggerate here. Like genuinely, pardon me, I don't really feel the urge to take it anymore. But There's my story on how I made myself immune to Molly. I hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out the next Gobcast episode coming up on the Pine Park channel. If you want to see me interview the man that the movie War Dogs is based on, you don't want to miss it. This man joked the United States government for over $300 million and somehow did not do a single day in prison for it, despite going to court. It's going to be a banger. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Deuces.